My 14-year-old grandson.
Yeah.
Solved instantly.
Actually got up at 6.
Oh,
Their time.
I'm sorry. I'm sure this is my fault because my phone is probably just sending my headset because of that NSFM meeting. So
Technical challenges.
it's all my own fault. Things were working. Yeah, okay. My fault. Everything's working now.
Do you want me to start over?
It's up to you. It was working, so you could take it from where you were. The audio would have made it to everybody but me. So
Okay,
this was only my paranoia for doing the tech support. I actually got it all right, and then I messed it up. So it should
okay,
be working fine now. Sorry. about
all
that.
right, so I think we'll have the CAO read the report of the returning officer, please.
All right, so I am not on the screen, but that should be fine. So this is the report of the returning officer on the 2026 special election. A special election was held on February 14th, 2026 in the town of Mahone Bay to fill 2 vacancies on council. The results are as follows. Kevin Boone, 210 votes, declared elected. Catherine McCarron, 193 votes, declared elected. Kathy Swan White Now, 146 votes. Michelle Griffin, 133 votes. Bill Lewis, 92 votes. A total number of 774 votes were cast.
Thank you, CAO, and I will call Kevin Bacon. Oh my gosh, he is what you have
be dancing.
you have to do a chance.
We got some dancing.
He's also a good singer.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right. What's your here?
make your way through here and let's see if we are on the camera here.
Perfect.
So that people can see, and Kevin, if you can read this.
I, Kevin Boone, swear or solemnly affirm, I definitely affirm, that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, his heirs and successors according to law. And I am truly qualified as required by law for the office of Councillor of the town of Mahone Bay. And that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially execute the duties of the office to which I've been elected to the best of my knowledge and ability, and that I've not received and will not receive payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of any partiality or other undue execution of duties of my office.
Thank you. Congratulations, you are a member of Mahone Bay Town Council.
Thank you so much. All right, I look forward to it.
And I'll call on Catherine McCarron to come forward. And Catherine, if you can read your affirmation.
I, Catherine McCarron, swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, his heirs and successors according to law. And that I am duly qualified as required by law for the office of Councillor of the town of Mahone Bay. And that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially execute the duties of the office to which I have been elected to the best of my knowledge and ability. And that I have not received and will not receive any payments or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of any partiality or other undue execution of the duties of my office.
Well, congratulations, you are a member of Mahone Bay Town Council.
Thank you.
Sure,
yeah.
So before we start the meeting, and it will be nice to
It's nice to see you come up on the video.
The newsletter, here, come on over
Yeah,
here a
okay.
little bit closer.
All right.
Okay.
Good.
Taking several. Great.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Always a good idea, who's got their eyes closed.
Well, that's a little bit of winter excitement. We all can use the end of February, and this is our final council meeting for the month. So, I'll let everyone get in their position, and, when we're all ready, everyone ready? Okay, thank you. And congratulations to our new members of council. And it will be nice. I know you attended the open public session on Tuesday evening, so you know all the information about the bylaws that will be presented this evening at the council meeting and discussed. So you're knowledgeable about that, and now that you were sworn in, because you were there present and you've been reading up on any emails and correspondences regarding the bylaws, you'll be able to vote this evening, should you wish. Okay, but you can vote for everything else too.
And we can even make more,
You can make motion,
Do whatever you like.
yeah. Anyway, welcome. So we will start with the approval of the agenda. I believe there are some additions. Yes, Councillor Carver?
I'd just like to add something under new business, which is just to raise the issues of the provincial budget cuts and the implications for municipalities.
Okay,
Well, we were also just gonna add the correspondence about the provincial budget cuts. I think that was one of the items.
Oh, okay. And the other one was the new fire services regulations.
okay,
And in addition to the correspondence from the province about the cuts, there was also the report of the Policy and Strategy Committee from Monday evening, which
Okay.
council had wanted to add, if the mover is comfortable with that.
okay, and that goes under committee?
Yeah.
Or council, right?
No, that goes.
Committee, okay, yes, we did put that on under committee this afternoon. Okay, that's great, and I also have the addition of the Nova Scotia budget, but okay, those are all right. So would someone like to move the amended agenda? Oh, thank you. Would you like to second? Oh, thank you, you're.
Councilors in action.
Okay, we have a mover by Councillor McCarron and a seconder by Councillor Boone. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you. We will move on to the minutes of the regular council meeting on February 10th, 2026. Are there any errors or omissions?
Mayor, I'd move that we approve the minutes from the February 10th meeting with the edit that the meeting was adjourned at 11:33 a.m., not p.m.
Oh, nice.
That was gonna be mine.
They say always read at the end of the exam first.
Okay, and are you seconding that motion,
Yes.
Councillor Carver? Thank you. We have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. We will move on to announcements by council members, and Councillor Feeney, do you have a special one to make?
Other than happy birthday to Mary Ann.
Yes.
That's the announcement of the evening.
That is-
Thank you, Mayor.
That's great. Thank you very much. And I have an announcement that Barbara and Eric Miller, who live in Maiders Cove, are a neighboring community, but have been longtime business people in Mahone Bay and super volunteers as well. Will celebrate their 65th anniversary, and we should all celebrate tomorrow by singing the Bill Store song. All aboard for Bill's Store. I think most people who've lived in this community for any amount of time will remember that tune playing before the 8 o'clock news every morning around the breakfast table. So congratulations to Barb and Eric Miller. Are there any other announcements that anyone has to make for our meeting? Okay, being done, we will move on to the no public input tonight, and there are no presentations this evening, so we'll move along to correspondence. Yes, Councillor Carter.
Yes, Mayor, on number 6.1, the letter from Rhiannon Visser about food trucks. I think in her letter, there were many good ideas, I thought, and wondered how we can address some of those ideas or consider some of those ideas in the vending bylaw, given that we have that on the table tonight for second reading.
Well, I guess, the vending bylaw amendment that's actually on the table is really just ensuring it aligns with the provisions of the other bylaw that is being passed and just making sure that there's amendments. So if this is, more substantial than that, it could probably be referred to policy and strategy. And we start the discussion about, the bylaw other than just the little cleanup amendment that we're doing tonight. Yeah.
Okay. So when we get to that, I might do that. Thank you.
Okay,
Well, I agree. I thought-
Councillor McCarron.
I thought there were some very good points made in her letter, and I think it deserves further discussion.
Mhm. Okay, so we move on and we'll talk later.
Excuse me.
Yeah, Councillor,
The
Wilford.
bylaw comes up to refer this to policy and strategy or do it now?
No, you can do it now.
Okay, you can do it
Can we do it
now.
You guys want to do it now?
Sure.
Oh, make the motion to refer,
Sure.
well, I would like to refer the letter to Policy and Strategy Committee for consideration of the suggestions around food trucks.
Okay,
No, second.
you'll second that, Councillor McCarron, thank you. All those in favor signify aye, opposed nay, the motion is carried.
Mayor,
Councillor Feeney,
I'd like to move that we, for item 6.4 to the, item 6.5 to the cemetery committee.
okay, is there a seconder for that? Councillor Carver, thank you. All those in favor signify aye, opposed nay, the motion is carried.
Mayor, just on that point, the cemetery committee will be meeting tomorrow and this item will be discussed at that time.
All right, thank you for that, Councillor Feeney.
Pardon me, it'll be
A week
the
from-
sixth.
Oh, wait,
Pardon me,
Week from tomorrow.
March the 6th. pardon me.
okay, great, all right, thank you. And Councillor Carver,
Yes, I'm looking at item 6.7, the request from the Mahone Bay United for a letter of support for their hoped for project to install irrigation on the playing field behind the Mahone Bay Center. I would move that council provide a letter of support for their application to the community's culture, tourism and heritage. Did I get that the right order? CC community. For funding for that. There's it's simply a letter of support. There's no commitment to funding from on our part that I'm aware of.
okay. Anyone want to second that? Second by Councillor Boone. Okay, any further discussion, Councillor Wilson?
You're just, I won't support this letter of recommendation simply because I think it's the wrong, if it were to pass, it's the absolutely the wrong thing to do. Once again, we're throwing a whole bunch of money after one data point. We had one drought in, the last 50 or 60 years of that level of seriousness, and we may never have another one. And I think it's throwing good money after bad to put in an irrigation system that we know won't be able to be used anyway if there's another drought like that. So I I don't understand why we would do that.
Any other discussions?
I just wanted to make a point of clarification, because it is true that there's a request for support to go seek provincial funding. But it is also, as the landlord, we're giving permission. It is an approval to say, if you line all this money up from the province, we're gonna let you do the project. So I just wanted to be sure council understood, we're giving them support to seek the funds, but we're also giving them permission, should they secure the funds, to carry out the work. I just wanted to make sure that was understood. Because normally groups ask us for letters of support, but they're not doing a project on our property. So this is also a letter conveying permission for them to do the work.
Councillor Feeney?
Mayor, just had a couple thoughts about how we approach issues where we have our partners, and in large part the soccer club and the Mahone Bay Center are our partners for the management of that facility, but we have other partners like the Joint Services Board. And in this new funding environment where dollars from the province are going to be very scarce, it's not crystal clear to me when we have we have someone outside of the town, like not a part of the town, the government, but rather someone who we support, but isn't the government proper, when they applied for municipal funding from a particular scarce funding source, and that award is granted. And would that the granting of the awarding of the funding for this under this particular program, would that actually supersede something else that's already on our strategic plan that we might be intending to apply for a week from now or a month from now? So are we competing with ourselves for the same funding from the same funding pool, knowing that in the real world, the province is going to adjudicate these things and saying, well, we're not going to fund project B because we've already funded project A. And I mean, I think that's an important to understand, whether, you know, as terrific as this project may be, like if we say yes to this, would that preclude us from applying? Do we have other plans with our other staff members to apply to the same source of funding for something that's higher on our strategic priority list? So look, I'm open-minded about providing the letter, but it wouldn't break my heart to have a little bit of feedback from staff about, oh, if you just keep in mind, if you apply for this, that will knock out of contention our other more mission critical project. Now, maybe we have no other project, and maybe this is the only thing that qualifies for funding under the unique criteria of the funding scheme, which will make it a lot easier to say yes, if that's the case.
Well, I can speak to
CAO.
that. So this recreation facility is funding, so this is stuff we have access to for. So to do the pre-design work for the pool replacement, for example, we accessed one of the recreational facilities funding streams under communities, culture, tourism, and heritage. And we have accessed it to do, you know, it's hard to recall at this point because the field has almost been written off, but we have access to make improvements to the ball field in the past. You didn't have anything that was planned to apply for this grant program in 2026. And in fact, the deadline is like right upon us. So I think it's very time sensitive. I wasn't going to apply otherwise. That being said, we would be applying next year. The main reason we wouldn't be applying this year is that, you know, we have several recreational facilities that we're having some fairly significant discussions about, like in planning advisory. We've been having this conversation about the old school lab property. Like if there were a going concern with respect to the ball field, the pool, Jubilee Park more broadly,
Right.
like these are the funding sources we would be going for. We weren't in a position to do so this year. The only eligible project I think we've got in the capital budget for 2026, as I'm remembering it, will be for Tiny Tots Playground, for which we were targeting 2 accessibility funding sources. One council approved last fall, the other one I'll give you a report at the March 10th meeting. It's just private sector grant that could supplement the grant we identified in the fall. But I wasn't otherwise going to be going to communities, culture, tourism, heritage for that project. So in that sense, I don't think we'd be in competition with it, but you know, they do also on a more political level pay attention to the amount of money that goes to a community, and you know, so there's a little bit of that. But this is also a fund that, were we not the landlord, a group like Mahoma United would be eligible to apply directly to. So it's quite common that groups in a municipality won't seek the municipality's approval before applying to these funds.
Fair.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes, just really one other point, and that is that I would be happy to support this letter after we've had a second drought. But I think we need at least a couple of incidents to make it sensible to spend the level of funds that we're contemplating spending there.
And we don't know how much.
Well, we really don't know, and
We don't know, like, the bottom line.
I really do shudder to think of us spending a bunch of money to pump water from Oakland Lake, treat it, and then spray it on a field. I mean, that doesn't, to me, make much sense either.
I think they're planning to do well. Did I read something?
Well, no, they said that they'd investigated the well and it could be potentially added in the future, which is generally speaking true, but that it would be a substantial additional cost that they didn't have in the plan for this year.
But this is metered water, isn't it?
Yeah.
Would be,
Which,
we would be paying for it.
right.
Councillor
Well, it just
Carter.
comes back to the operating grant request.
Yeah.
Councillor Carter.
So I'd like to ask the CAO if the town has the capacity to water, should there be another drought next year.
We have previously indicated that if we have, mandatory restrictions, it's likely that those mandatory restrictions would limit the watering of grass.
Yeah.
So they've been advised of that in making this plan. But I think the case that's been made, and I think it's made somewhat in the correspondence, is if they were to water up until those conditions came into effect, that would give a buffer to make it through the drought.
That wasn't quite my
I'm
question.
sorry.
My question was more, if the irrigation system is not installed, could the town with some other system available to it water the property?
Yeah, I don't think that we have the staff to do that. Like to regularly do this, it would be a couple hours every other day through the summer. So I would think the contractor would have food brought in, and I don't know what was done last year, but Tim did reference costs when he was doing his presentation on the annual budget. So I expect they did have some of that done last year.
So it would be extra, if the town were willing to take it on, it would have to be contracted out at our cost.
Yeah, it would very quickly add up to more than the cost of the water if the province were paying for the irrigation system.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really struggling with this because it would be a terrific addition to the functionality of the facility, and it would probably elevate it to even like a higher service level, and would allow them to attract probably higher quality club teams that are coming in because they can improve the quality of the pitch. Like, there's a lot of logic to it if you're looking at, especially from the club's perspective. But we've put almost all of our balls in the one, all of our eggs in the one basket as it relates to recreation into that facility. And we have really no plans to do anything but continue to do that. And there's a long list of upgrades to that whole area that we've talked about, but we still have Jubilee Parks field that we've essentially abandoned the last 2 years. Like, we've just kind of walked away from it for lots of reasons. But we haven't really strategically said, okay, we are walking away from it. Now it's a dog park, or we are walking away from it and we're not going to it'll never be used for playing softball again, or we haven't made a decision about that.
Councillor,
It does remind me that PAC is looking into what we call Jubilee 2.0,
Mhm.
which is, well, we'll talk about next week, but we'll probably be recommending to council a fairly major study that will encompass everything from the proposed $4 million pool and how we fund that through what do we do with the so-called lab lands behind the soccer pitch, to what do we do with the soccer pitch and the ball club and on and on, tiny tots playground, all of that's part of it. My pride and joy, my skating rink that I'd like to have,
Yeah.
and so on.
Right.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe this all comes under that somehow.
Okay. Councillor McCarron?
Yeah, I agree that the last PAC meeting, I think what we need is like an overarching recreation vision
Right.
that draws in different communities, stakeholders, and let's get a vision. And we've got the tots, we've got the soccer, we've got the pool, we've got the
And
tennis.
Jim's very much a part of that.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
So the ramifications of saying no this evening is that not only do we not get a project, but there's no guarantee that the province is going to top up these funds after this year anyway. Like, the practical reality is,
Based on tonight's announcement, this program could
Right.
be gone next year.
now or never.
exactly. So, like, it's through that lens. I think kind of agree with earlier comments from Councillor Carver about sometimes, like, the bird in the hand is the right decision, because we don't know if there's an opportunity to catch the bird again next summer. So from that perspective, and the fact that, I mean, these folks will manage it appropriately, and I think there's a recognition that the taxpayers are not going to fund the match at this point. We'll see what happens on the operating side. That, I'd be more inclined to support the motion to move this along. And I mean, I think Councillor Wilson makes good points. I agree with them. I just wonder, if we don't do this, will we be looking back 2 years from now and saying we didn't do any project? So what do you all think?
Councillor Boone?
just a quick question. what is the decision point for this? Is it, like, does this need to be decided or get the letter in right away for the funding? Or,
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is this is one of those things where the actual funding deadline is technically elapsed. And they said,
Okay.
well, we'll get you a letter.
I see.
Yeah.
Because that does happen. I've been there too, you know, oh, a council resolution. Oh, sure, I'll get that next week, but here's the application just to hold my spot. So, yeah, it's one of those things where I do think it's quite time sensitive. Now, you're the council, you can always wait and they can deal with their funders and tell them what they need to tell them. But it's been expressed to me that this is something where they didn't really realize the extent to which they should have come sooner, and they are coming kind of cap in hand saying, oops, we're very last minute. Yeah.
And based on some of the other questions around the provincial budget, it might just be something to kind of talk more in depth about that. Like, because that could impact this as
Yeah,
well.
I mean, I think the thing that, you know, is being referenced here is that this funding program was announced for this year.
Yeah,
But, you know, based on the provincial budget, there's a good chance it might not be available next year.
yeah,
So this might be the last opportunity, and actually the deadline's already passed, so like they've kind of got their foot in the door for funding. There may not be this opportunity again, but that is speculation. I mean,
Sure.
the province didn't say anything about that, they just said it's gonna be a tough couple of years.
Mhm.
Well,
Well, Mayor, why don't I move that council provide a letter of support.
We already.
Is
Is
it already on the floor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great,
That
fantastic.
was discussion on the
Oh, yeah.
motion.
Fantastic.
Actually,
Well, why don't we
there's
have a vote and see what the consensus is?
So I just have the council provide a letter of support for the MBU irrigation project. So.
Yeah.
all right, are you ready for the question? All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. All right, the motion is carried. All right, we will move along.
Questions?
Pardon?
That was two.
Two opposed.
Can I move that we take items 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, and 6.6 and receive and file?
You may,
Second.
seconded by the deputy mayor. All those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. We are moving down
Second
to
is that, Joe?
Joe, second.
Sorry.
Yeah. Um,
I was too busy writing down all the numbers.
okay, staff report to council.
Sorry, but what are we gonna do with 6.2, the request to fly the flag?
Yeah, it did just get included in that receive and file, but it is also in order, like,
I misspoke.
okay, I'll take that one back out of there.
Thank you, because we do have to approve.
Well, I
request.
think it could go to the clerk, who is looks after the flag raising.
Looking at the new policy, this one should go to council,
Oh,
because
should
you
it?
guys have
Okay.
to say yay or nay.
And we
Okay.
haven't approved the.
No, yeah, so if you, no, well, that's true,
Yeah.
but even if we say we're going in that direction,
Yeah.
you should still be approving this
Yeah.
if you wish to,
Yeah.
only if you wish to, but. It's in line with our policy.
I have to say I have mixed feelings about it because I have been so happy that we have a policy not to make proclamations. That the flying flags at many requests that may come in the same way that requests come in to make proclamations for specific events or causes. I have very mixed feelings about it, so I'm not even sure how I would vote on the issue. So that's just my preamble before there's a motion.
Okay,
Mhm.
so do we defer?
No, I've got nothing against kidneys per se.
Okay.
So I'll move that we agree to fly that flag.
Is there a seconder for that motion?
I'll second the motion, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion?
Other than other than for the clerk to evaluate whether we have other competing priorities between the first choice and the second choice as far as the weeks, so we may have other.
Yeah, I should have double checked on that, I
So just
think that's okay. but
Leave it in
we'll-
the clerk's capable hands to figure out which of the choices
Right,
will work.
okay.
I should have checked this earlier, but that. For the time, what our current policy is,
This is on the community flag, right? Community flag.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you have a specific question about it, Penny?
Um,
About the current policy?
it's about, in town versus out of town versus general causes. I thought there was a clause in the flag
Mhm.
policy in relation to that.
Kind of rings a bell.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't find it.
Yeah, I don't see anything, and I'm looking in the section on the special occasion flags, but. Community organizations. I mean, we do define it as community organizations, but.
And I don't want anybody to think that my ambivalence about this has anything to do with lack of support for the cause, because I certainly support the cause. I would have the same reaction to autism when I have autism in my family. So it's not about the issue itself, it's about the policy. No, I can't put past.
So there's nothing to.
No, I mean, applications are supposed to come in a month ahead, but
Yeah.
they haven't always. And
Yeah,
if they're providing us with the flag, we could get it put up. Which I think, I assume that is implied here. There's a picture of the flag.
so are we ready for the question? All those in favor signify aye. Aye, opposed. To oppose, the motion is carried.
Okay.
Okay, so we have finished item 6. Okay, we're moving on to staff reports, so 7.1. Reports.
So just wanted to note a slight formatting change here. There's yellow highlighting if I moved deliverable date, just to cancel the garbage request. Previous meeting, so happy to take any questions.
Okay,
Busy month.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, well, it's pre-budget, so we do have a lot of reports targeted for March.
right. Councillor Carver.
So I have 3 questions, well, 2.5. Number 3, the Tiny Tots, the review of the Tiny Tots play area. Is there opportunity at this time, or does it make any sense at this time to have some consultation with users of that space, young families?
I think that would be something to do in response to the report. We'll have the condition report on the next
Okay.
agenda.
Okay.
And then I think it feeds into that Jubilee 2.0 question.
Okay.
So we have a very modest proposal into the province for some accessibility improvements, but the bigger picture, there's even a spot where the consultant we were working with drew on future splash pad, and I had him take it off because we're not committed to that, but you know, there's a nice spot in there.
It's nice to see it there. Okay, thank you. So there will be an opportunity down the road to involve young families in that. We have a terrific precedent in the play area already. And the number 9, the Indigenous art, Edgewater. Is there a way of blending that with the Vic Garden, which was disappeared during the Edgewater construction, but it was an Indigenous theme. It was an Indigenous garden with some Indigenous design signage.
To peek behind the curtain, the RFP document that has been written as a kind of attachment to a report to council to probably your March 10th meeting, probably the next meeting. Claire Louise has been working on this one. It says in there about the possibility of the old site and what was there, but based on tomorrow morning's meeting, I'm to determine with Claire Louise, did we get any feedback that would change that? So based on tomorrow morning, there's just a landscaping working group for Edgewater meeting tomorrow morning. Based on that, then the report to council on the 10th will have reference one way or the other to the former,
Great.
what we were, yeah.
Well, what about the piece of Indigenous art that the chamber installed? When George
That's the one we were talking about.
Anderson.
That's the one we were talking about. So we removed that
Oh,
during
okay.
Edgewater work. And it can be reinstated or potentially some combination thereof or.
Redesigned.
Yeah, so there's that opportunity now with the chamber being a stakeholder in the working group. Hopefully tomorrow morning we'll get a little.
Oh, great, that's good to know.
Okay. Any other questions about the staff report? Would someone like to move that we accept the staff report?
I move we accept this time for
Yeah.
information, thank you.
Counselor Wilson, seconder. Counselor McCarron. Thank you. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. All right. We are going on to council items. So Counselor, oh,
There's a lot more
oh,
items. still.
sorry, right, sorry, 7.2, the quarterly statistics report. Is that the RCMP one?
No, it's just our various statistics that used to go every month, but now just come quarterly.
Oh, okay.
Scott wanted to have me highlight
okay.
the substantial improvement in water losses.
Mm.
Already noted.
Yeah, so there's that, you know, that's a moving target, so we'll see where it is in the spring when we do leak detection.
Well,
Okay.
I think even if it's only one data point, and I'm loath to talk nicely about any one data point, but should be congratulated. I suspect that has a lot to do with his work and maybe something to do with the work out here.
Yeah, there was a little bit in this section of the grid, and then he had noted on the previous quarter, we're excited to see the next quarter because we did some repairs and we think it'll have a good reflection of the next quarter, and now we're seeing that, so it did happen. Yeah.
And the drought showed them where there was water.
Yeah, it actually helped, that was part of the
Like
identification. of
summer,
that,
like the bright green grass in the place that was all dry.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, there's a leak, so, there's the plus side of having a drought. Yes, Councilor Boone.
Can I just get some clarification on the stats for the water side?
Sure.
So, can you just describe it, just give me that overview, just so I understand it? I just want.
Yeah, so basically number 7 on the water utility is trying to track water by thousands of liters as it is initially pumped from Oakland Lake,
Yes,
treated at these are different columns, treated at the treatment facility here on Long Hill, and then arrived at and delivered and sold at the meter in the home.
yeah,
And then in the course of that, the system uses some and bleeding and, you know, just intentional system functions. So when you add all that up, you get a number that says somewhere between the lake and the end customer, a percentage of water was lost. That's due to the age of our system. Most of our original lines are 1949. But, you know, generally speaking, your line losses, chasing them below 20% is not recommended. There's a level of loss in a municipal system. But if they go up above 50, you hear about it from the province or from the review board, and we had been in the past that flagged for that. So getting down to 30, if it were to stay at 30, is quite a good level, reasonable level. For the age of our system, it would be a great target to stay at 30, to be honest.
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Anything, Council?
Just one other comment, it's good to see that already this year, with 1 quarter remaining, we exceeded the previous year's generation of power from the solar garden. But a question arises, I know we're gonna have a quarterly report, including the cost per megawatt hour going forward, is that fair to say?
Well, yeah, you're requesting it tonight
Well,
technically, but
yeah.
presuming that passes.
Presuming that passes.
Yeah, yes, that is the intention.
But we don't at this moment, we have.
We've never done that translation to megawatt hour.
So we don't know the cost.
So we do know everything we spent to generate energy in the prior year, and we do know how much energy was generated in the prior
So
year.
we could.
So we can
could
do the calculation, we haven't done the calculation. But if your motion passes tonight, we'll do your calculation.
Any other questions on the quarterly report? Statistics, okay, we will move on to the staff report website and public alert system. Okay, I think this would be the CAO report.
Yeah, so a little bit disappointing, to be honest, because, you know, when I first arrived here in 2018, some of the things on the list were figure out some better communications tools. Our website is dated. We don't have any way to let people know about outages. And at that time, we went out, and as it's detailed in the report, we found a couple of solutions we thought would work pretty well. I think they were both a big improvement. Obviously, Code Red was a big improvement over nothing because we had a public alert system, and the website was, I think, more functional than the previous one. Unfortunately, both of the vendors have not held up over the past 5 years. So as detailed in the report, our website was built by a local company using some various products the company's gone, the products are not supported, and the website is actively falling apart around us, as people have observed. It's not intentional, we're not hiding anything, we'd love to fix this, so staff have considered and developed some recommendations on that. And with the alert system, same thing, is, you know, we had a problem, there was a data breach with our provider, and it caused us to look at some alternatives. So while that system is still sort of semi-functional, we're not very comfortable with it, we're not using it, and we'd like to expedite the switch, because that alertable, the recommended option, is not a substantial deviation from our budget. It's, our contract was already ending, it's just an annual contract, we'd like to jump right into that. So the recommendation does have that nuance. The alertable option, we're suggesting, can we just get your approval? It's like $1,000 more than last year's budget. But the website will take a longer process. So we're looking to initiate the process, and then, you know, that'll give us a sense of the costs as quickly as we can get them. I really do feel with the website, though, that this may be the time to go with a large entity that does municipal websites and is more likely to be around for us, but I know there's interest locally as well, and so we should not count that out.
Okay,
So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
So,
Councillor
so the request for proposals would explore the relative merits of small and local from big and municipal. Yeah, okay.
Can we make those motions now then, please?
sure.
So I'll start with the council. I'll move the council direct staff to issue a request for proposals for the development of a new town of Home Bay website.
Second that.
Second that by Councillor Carver, thank you. Any further discussion, questions? Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. 7
There's a second.
Yeah, I'll jump in and do the next motion.
the public alert.
Yeah, I'll move that council award the public notification system contract for 2026-2027 to TEASI for their alertable platform at a cost of $1,000 for activation plus $3,950 annually. That sounds like a bargain.
Then is that local?
Second.
Oh, sorry, second.
Canadian.
Second by Councillor Wilson. It's Canadian?
Yeah, our
Okay,
previous one was American. I'm not aware of any Nova Scotia based options. This is the one used by the province.
okay. I've taken on the one the RCMP were recommending the other night in the storm, Nova Scotia Alert.
Hmm.
Does
That goes through this.
it?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think you
okay.
configure it the same way.
All right, I
It's
just
my
thought it was good
understanding.
to have something on my, now that we didn't have any, I wanted to have something. So. I
And
just,
so that means that people can configure, should they have the aptitude. I believe if they will be able to configure other alerts through the same system, so if they want to get the provincial and town and they like to get them as phone calls instead of texts, or like, I think that it's
Okay.
all in one. I haven't looked at it, but that's my
yes,
understanding.
okay. Good, all right, so someone
Move.
moved by Council Wilson?
Oh, but like, if I move.
And you said, you
Wilson.
moved second.
So we're ready to vote.
Ready for the vote. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you. Request for a decision. Plan Mahone Bay housekeeping amendments. So,
So Emily's gonna keep the PAC busy for a bit. Now that you guys are allowed to come up with your own topics for discussion, we're gonna really take up the next two meetings.
Just inundate us.
So I was given from Emily that this is sort of the short list, and that she's been working diligently on the detailed list for PAC. So it's not actually ready for next week's meeting. I'm gonna send out an agenda. We're gonna go ahead with next week's meeting anyway, because we want to talk about Jubilee and other things, but this will be ready for the April meeting agenda. So as of April, if we refer this, PAC will get an even more detailed report from Emily.
okay,
But looking through it, it's minor tweaks, you know.
Yeah, the first list are like, we
Clarity.
almost don't really, we just need PAC to say we understand or we're
Yeah,
good with. And then the
yeah.
second list are like, these are a little more, you know,
Yeah,
there's a little more
yeah.
to them.
okay.
But I think it's good to, I mean, this is the meat and potatoes of the planning advisory committee, and it allows people to dig into a bunch of different aspects of the plans.
Okay. So there's no,
Mayor, I move the town council direct staff to schedule and prepare a draft municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw amendment. And related staff report for the PAC.
okay, is there a seconder for that?
I can second that.
Okay, Chair of the PAC, yeah, Wilson. Any further discussion, questions, comment?
Just one question, I guess not entirely specific to the edits, but on the planning file and the cadence to find out who the long-term planning will be conducted by, or where, can you just refresh our memory, Dylan, on how long our arrangement with Emily and the rest of the team is in place? Like, how long are we gonna enjoy their services?
Kelly's got a great motion on this in the package.
That's right.
So it's until March 31st of 2027.
27.
So, notionally, we have this whole year. They've indicated they'd love to know sooner than later and have a plan and a timeline, and we have a couple of irons and fires about proposals, but we'll deal with that on the basis of the motion that is already in the package for later on, I think.
Fair enough.
Anything else? No? Okay, all those in favor, signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried.
So I have just a quick follow-up question about the actual meeting next week. Can we assume that one way or another, Catherine is still on the committee?
That was gonna be my question.
If
That's my question too.
we had trouble meeting
Yeah.
quorum, I don't know where we technically should
Yeah,
not one or the other,
okay.
but if we don't have trouble meeting quorum, if it's not down to that, or we're not voting on a development agreement, it's pretty hard.
Well, I can appoint you temporarily anyway,
Okay, yeah.
would we like to do?
Well,
that?
council can do that now if you want to, I'm not trying to.
Second person.
Brian.
Brian and.
Right,
That's the issue I have, is that, like, we have council members already.
right. So what's the policy say, in terms of reference? Does it say 2 councillors?
That's true, it does say 2 councillors, so she can't be
Well-
there as a voting member.
I'm willing to step back.
But at some point, but you're not a member, you're not.
You're not-
Yes, I am. No, you people put me there. You wanted me there. It's
Maybe
not.
this is
as
one
the
we agree. Let me
But
look
the
at
2 councillors are the chair.
Pardon?
Councillor Wilson and then the
Council
vice chair
Pulverman.
is Councillor Pulverman. Those are the 2 councillors.
Okay.
You're their ex officio.
No, I
No.
think
This one might have 3,
I think it says 3.
Oh,
Sure.
okay.
it says
No.
three.
But if it is 3, you already are 3, so
Okay,
either
we
way.
already have a
yes.
3.
Because we were going to, remember, we were gonna eliminate and
Right,
have a
right,
different
right.
public consultation process. And then when we went back to form.
Okay, sorry to have spoken so authoritatively and being wrong.
But your key point stands, it is true that we can't appoint Catherine as a council member because we have 3 council members, we've got enough council members. So I think you just have to go non-voting, I mean, it's always open to the public.
Yeah, for now, and then we've got to,
Yeah.
well, Brian and I have to get together with Eric
Yeah,
as soon as Brian gets back, and, because you gotta go on a bunch of committees, you gotta go on a bunch of committees, and.
Yeah.
We've got some others to
Where
fill.
Yeah, we don't know.
Band.
Yeah,
So, better
Yeah,
figure it out.
I mean, I would think that there may be a shuffle.
yes.
yeah, so for next week, you just have to come as a member of the public, if you're interested, you don't have to come.
You
at all.
don't even have to come.
Technically, you don't have to come,
I
but.
know.
I'd like,
Okay,
Well, because, yeah, I mean, that whole document is close to my heart, you know. Put a lot of time into it.
yeah,
Well, there's pretty solid rationale for your continued involvement, because even amongst the councilors, you have been there for the political Bay process.
Yeah.
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 So,
Okay.
we don't need a motion? No, okay,
I didn't write carried, but we did vote on the referral, right? Yes,
Yes.
yes, because I
Yes,
moved after that
Yes,
is when I
yes,
went into
yes,
this.
okay.
Yeah.
so the report of the clerk with the public hearing for the streets and sidewalks and season sales area.
Yeah, so I have
And
a,
temporary
put
vendor.
on a different hat here. So this is the clerk's report from the meeting that we actually just had on Tuesday evening. Public hearing was held on February 24th, 2026, to receive verbal and written submissions regarding the town of Mahone Bay draft seasonal sales area bylaw, draft amended streets and sidewalks bylaw, amended temporary vending bylaw, and amended special events bylaw. 12 members of the public were in attendance. 2 members of the public presented comments to the hearing. 1 written submission was received prior to the hearing. No written submissions were received at the hearing. The hearing adjourned at 7:15 PM. And you were all there.
Council Wilson?
Just out of curiosity, when I got back home later on that evening and looked at my email, I noticed that we had 2 or perhaps 3 written submissions that I didn't see at the meeting, of course. Do they somehow get in the mix at some point, or are they just referenced as received?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like if these are just the ones that came in by email,
Yeah,
you know, if it doesn't come to the clerk account before 7:15 on the night of the hearing, it doesn't get included as official correspondence.
right.
That being said, you've all had the benefit of hearing from people in a variety of formats, so I would include it along with those conversations and other forms of informal feedback.
The one I have note on said that it was delivered 3/26 on the date before. And I don't know, is this the same one?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
So it was delivered before, and I don't know if these questions have been addressed.
That's Linda's.
Yeah, so when you say, so it was delivered to the clerk?
Keep my email.
It says 3/26
Okay.
in the afternoon.
Is that the one that is referenced, or was there another one that was referenced? There's 1 written submission received.
Makes sense.
Tuesday, February 24th, yeah,
That's,
at
who
3.
did it go to? Who did it go to?
It went to the clerk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and do we have another piece of correspondence, or is that the one?
There was one at 4:58 as well. I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
The other one was the question about the mobility scooter.
Oh, okay,
And the answer is it's considered to be a pedestrian, yeah,
yeah,
so we don't.
so maybe that's why that one wasn't
That's the
included.
answer is
Yeah.
that.
Okay. So I mean, as far as any concerns council may have heard from anyone or wants to discuss, you're still free to do that, you know, whether it was reflected, I can amend this to say 2 written submissions if we want, but that would be, it wouldn't change the fact that you have received it and you're
Yeah, we
aware
all
of it.
had it. We have all received.
So I think, given that, you now have the substance to debate second reading on these various bylaws. And that would be your prerogative, but that is what's up, is the second reading notionally of the new seasonal sales area first. And then the amended streets and sidewalks, temporary vending and special events.
Right. Yes, Councilor.
Well, I'm a little confused, but if I'm reading this correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, to CAO. The public hearing for streets and sidewalks basically went through the hearing without any blemishes, nobody
Right.
complained about it.
Apart from that written submission.
Yes, okay. Seasonal sales area was also pretty straightforward. The one about temporary vending, we have the letter tonight, which we refer to to policy and strategy, correct?
Mhm.
So can we pass the temporary vending one now, like do it second reading tonight, and then go back to policy and strategy
Yeah.
and review the whole thing in its fullness? Is that-
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, this was just a small housekeeping thing to keep it aligned with the new seasonal sales area
Yeah.
bylaw. Bigger changes could be contemplated. Okay.
Then can I move that we get special or second reading to the public hearings for streets and sidewalks bylaw, the seasonal sales area bylaw, the temporary vending bylaw, and the special events bylaw?
there's a second for that motion? Councilor Feeney, thank you. Any discussion, Councillor?
No, then the earlier motion that we made about referring the temporary vending bylaw to policy and strategy would be this, once it's approved. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
that'd be okay.
We would go back basically to the beginning
Right.
with that particular
Yeah,
bylaw.
yeah, yeah,
the whole
okay,
process.
some
yeah,
other
at some
amendments,
point.
okay, okay. Um. Does anybody have the full bylaw up? On their screens? No, because they weren't included in the package.
I could, the other question?
Yes, it's a question, and this comes from the question that came at the afternoon of the hearing that we didn't see.
Hmm.
It's about, and it's in the streets and. No, I'm sorry. I think everything there is, it's in the seasonal sales one, number 10. And. Tell me when you've got it.
Okay.
Okay, so number 10, and the phrase that says seasonal sales areas shall not encroach on the free flow of pedestrian traffic, requiring a 5'3" unobstructed walkway to be maintained on the regularly used sidewalk. And then the comments go on, the rest of the bylaw provides rules for routing pedestrians around an area. But this clause makes it sound like the regularly used sidewalk cannot be obstructed. People will be able to follow exactly the same route as always, not be directed around a seasonal sales area. I had exactly the same question when we went through it the first time, and my question was answered at the time, and now I can't remember how that clarification worked, but it is ambiguous somehow.
There was a reference to the rest of the bylaw, but without knowing what is being referred to, I
Oh
really can't
dear,
comment. Like the clause in question doesn't seem to be the issue, but whatever the rest of the bylaw is, like there's certainly references in the streets and sidewalks to people diverting around the thing. And I know that she had taken issue with those, but that there are still detours around sidewalks for other construction related interruptions. So this is a seasonal sales area, not gonna detour. But if you're doing facade work, you very well may need to. So there are provisions about detouring in the streets and sidewalks. If they're, were they in the seasonal sales area? And if so, I'm happy to check it out, but.
Are you
That
looking
was-
for this? Like,
Oh, have you got it up?
Yeah.
Oh, good, so number 10.
That's pertaining to things like scaffolding and whatnot, not a deck.
Yeah,
Or something
and
that's
I know that
temporarily
came up
there
as a
for
question, but that's in the other
construction.
bylaw, and yeah,
Yeah,
there
yeah.
are still reasons why the sidewalks will be closed
Yeah,
sometimes.
you're digging up a.
But it's not just for a business, you know, it's
Right.
not just for
The big hopscotch game.
a. We do have the reindeer run, there's, you know, you could do something like that.
Well, it's hard to figure this out.
But that was pertaining to things like scaffolding and temporary things.
Well, that's just a theory I had about where the questions come from, because I don't know what
Yeah.
clauses are being referenced, yeah. Like we did, obviously, in the drafting, change the intentions of the bylaw a few times.
Yeah.
And there could be a runaway clause that needs to be corrected.
I asked the question at the time and I was satisfied with the answer.
Okay, well, that's probably good then.
What's the best way of pulling the document up?
It's on the website.
Yeah, it's on the website, if you just go to the policy or not,
Bylaws.
right at the top, there's the thing.
Okay, hold on, I have to figure out how to do that now.
So while Councillor Carver is doing that, I did wanna, these are all being brought up to be given second reading as they were presented. But there was some significant feedback received about a clause in the streets and sidewalks that
Right.
concerns transportation of irregular loads. And I think some relatively non-substantive clarifications were suggested here, such as potentially the lane width being changed to just specify the actual width of the vehicle, so that it's not necessary to go measure the lanes.
Yeah.
That would be a simple correction. And then whether there is, generally speaking, support for that clause or any other change, if anybody, but right now it's been moved as presented, so I just want.
Yeah, that's actually my fault. I thought we had already made those edits.
As long as you want me to reflect them in here,
Yeah,
I do.
So one of the edits was to change the width to 3 point, if it's in excess of 3.35 meters.
Right,
And the other one had to do with whether this clause only pertained to commercial.
commercial.
Yeah. So if those changes are understood by the people around the table, that's the main reason I'm emphasizing that we're all clear on it.
I'm comfortable with those two edits,
yes,
which I also don't think are substantive.
yes.
Yeah, just clear, make it clear.
And Brian, I know, sent me a message
Damage this
about
page.
that. He was in favor of it. Yes, Kev,
One other question,
Council Boone, for,
one other question that came up in that conversation was, in some ways it was around communication around that. Like, how do you communicate with somebody who doesn't normally use that route? Something like that, and I don't know if any consideration was given to that in our thought process.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an understanding that there will be an ignorance. This came up as a question at the hearing, really, there will be an ignorance from some drivers coming from out of the area, not to know that they would need to seek permission from the town. And, that's expected. At the end of the day, if they have an accident, we would inform them that they were required to get permission.
Yeah,
I think at the end of the day, that's gonna be the least of their problems if they've had an accident.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can't really expect people to do that, I mean, if you're a company operating in a jurisdiction, you should do your homework.
Sure.
We can't really expect to help people with it, I guess, but, there isn't an offense, a ticketable offense simply for failing to get the written permission. So, like, if you did have an accident, I think I'd say, oh, great, we'll give it to you now, give us your insurance.
And to be fair, if people are going through town with an oversized load, like a modular home or a boat or whatever.
Windmill.
This is their destination.
Mhm.
They didn't just come through Mahone Bay for the view.
Mm.
So they should have their bases covered with regard to this municipality.
And
Right.
often things like that have a guiding car vehicle in the front and in the back, when they're wide. Or when they, I mean, I remember when they brought the windmills in for, those were huge.
yeah. Yeah, just a point of or just wanted clarification.
So with the understanding that the motion then from the mover and seconder has been amended slightly, we're now discussing giving second reading to the draft seasonal sales area bylaw. The draft amended streets and sidewalks bylaw as amended such that section 18 pertains to commercial transportation and references the minimum or maximum width of 3.35 meters. As well as the amended seasonal sales area, special events bylaw and temporary vending bylaw. So I just it's the amended bylaw as further amended, and I need to put that in the motion. And then if there's any other amendments, like if Councillor Carver has found that section, if we need to make one, we could do that there too.
Well, I'm fine. No.
So is there any further discussion? So we have a mover and a seconder. And we're ready for the question? Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Alrighty, thank you very much. Council Wilson. Oh, wait, no,
Councillor Carver.
no, we have Council Carver first.
Yes, this is from the Lunenburg County Accessibility Advisory Committee. So, well, actually more than that, it's coming from the Regional Accessibility whole program and the budget.
Right,
So for those who are new, the 5 municipal units in the county have partnered together to work to support accessibility across the region. So the budget is a regional budget, which they have proposed, and it will go to all 5 councils asking for approval. So on the first page of the budget, it shows you the gross figures. And on the second page, you have the breakdown for the different communities, the different municipalities, the 5 different municipalities. I had some questions about the titles of the columns, but I think I have it figured out. That the expenses that the municipalities put in, or the costs that the municipalities pay, are based on the uniform assessment. And property assessments and the percentages, and then there's a contribution for the accessibility coordinator has work that's devoted to each of the 5 units and some work that's devoted to the global region. So that contribution for regional committee support 1 day per week is costed out as part of, it actually costed out as part of the salary. But it's just showing you how that's costed. So I move that council approve the contribution from Town of Mahone Bay to the Lunenburg County Regional Accessibility Budget for 26-27 at $12,221. $12,221.
Is there a second for that motion? Councillor Boone? Councillor Wilson?
Question, the question is, I just noticed this actually, but the town of Mahone Bay has a budget, well, let me get this right. Maybe I'm reading it wrong altogether. What I'm trying to understand is simply put, why our contribution is $12,221 in terms of town of Lunenburg, which has almost about twice our assessment, is only 14,000.
Well, I think that's what Councilor Carver was trying to explain. A number of regional services, generally the ones that Chester has influence over, are switching to have a base pay to play rate that penalizes the small units, and this is one of them.
Bunch of them coming down the pipe.
I kind of guessed that, but I don't understand why that amount isn't in here somewhere.
Well, so the actual breakdown by uniform assessment only corresponds to the roughly half of the budget that is in that contribution for regional committee support column. And then the purchased hours are just straight up either at one level or double that level, which puts us at the same level as Town of Lunenburg. So it really substantially reduces the differential from population at that
Yeah,
point.
and one difference is that Town of Mahone Bay and Town of Lunenburg get half day each, whereas the other units, which are bigger, get 1 full day each. That's so part of the, Ellen explained that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you look at this as a person, it creates the wrong impression, obviously,
Yeah.
like that's where we're trying to get away from, is like,
Yeah.
we don't pay Ellen $156,000 a year. But there are a lot of costs associated with delivering the program, and the simplest way to break it down is in proportion to the time she's spending, so.
Are these assessment values, is this a function of, this must be residential assessment?
Yeah, to be honest, like we just got this from Chester. I don't know what they did to verify these numbers. These could be dated. This could be, there could be mistakes in it.
They don't look
right.
I mean, they're not materially.
Yeah, and I'm sure they use the
Not
same
correct,
mistake
but
and
they're not.
formula for everyone. Like, you know what I mean? If it's, I doubt it's the.
Standard
Yeah,
across the board.
I don't think it's against us if there's something wrong. I think they probably did the same wrong thing for everyone.
Consistency is all I ask people.
But the big change, I mean, the big change is this base $10,000. I mean, this is a big change, and we're gonna get the same thing in Reno.
Okay, any further discussion? No, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't get the second there. Just made by Penny. Does anyone remember?
Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now we're moving on to Councillor Wilson. You've waited a while for this.
Months. Yeah, I won't read the preambles to these motions, but I just by way of introduction, there are 3 things that I have been burbling around in the background for months and months and months, and in the case of the solar garden, I just think would be very helpful to everybody, including the people in the public, to know how that solar thing is performing in dollars and cents, so that's the purpose of that. The planning thing we've already talked a bit about, in the sense that Chester's withdrawing. So we need to deal with that, and the Riverport Electric, I think, is self-explanatory, but I'll deal with them one at a time, if that's okay.
Yes, you may.
So I'd like to move that council direct staff to produce a report on the solar garden operation, detailing production and cost of production, and provide to council as soon as it is available, and with all quarterly financial updates going forward.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Boone, the seconder. Any discussion or questions? Comments? I think this is timely. I like to see this happen here, and I thank you for bringing this motion forward, council.
And I think a quarterly update is certainly appropriate.
For sure. Okay.
How are we doing for staff time in terms of preparing?
This one's all right. This pretty much is already ready.
Okay.
The only thing we were just going back and, there's a calibration of the manual meter read to the portal that Lauren and Phil and I monitored. So we wanted to make sure that the portal is accurate to the manual meter read, so that calibration is the last detail. So otherwise this report will not take too long to finish.
Okay, good. All right, calling for the question. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Councillor Wilson.
Okay, well, number two, the planning thing is something I think we really need to pay attention to, put it kind of at the top of our list, because we know that last year a couple of problems led to the loss of the construction season for at least one project. And I would be pretty upset if that were to happen again, so we need some clarity on what we're gonna do going forward. By that, I mean, starting this fiscal year, because I think we all agree that although Chester is nominally around until 2027, they will be functionally absent for a good part of that time in terms of their performance or ability to perform. So I'd like to move the council direct staff to prepare a report analyzing the various alternatives for planning and development service delivery, including the pros and cons of each, the cost implications for budget and implementation timing.
Okay, is there a seconder? Councillor Carver, thank you. Any discussion, questions, comments?
I'll just say, since I was asked about on the last one, this will take a little bit more time, mostly just running down answers to the irons and the fires that I have mentioned. But I think, within the next 2 months or so, we should be able to come back with these options. So I don't see this as affecting the 2027 budget, to be honest. I don't think we're going to have the figures to make a decision for the budget. We have a service till the end of the year. I think for the budget, we've kind of got to approach it that we budget on Chester till the end of the year. But as soon as I can, I will come with the alternatives.
Okay.
But I think we've kind of got to approach the budget saying we don't have an answer. So if it's up in the air, we kind of got to use the existing.
Okay, yes, Councillor Carver.
So in terms of the report, I really like the idea of including the pros and cons of each, because that really helps me as a councillor to kind of weigh the options.
Sure.
But rather than just a single recommendation, pros and the cons is useful, so thank you for that.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Boone.
I have to say that I don't know enough about this scenario, so I don't know if I can just abstain on that if you guys vote on it. Or, yeah,
Sure.
there we go.
Okay,
And I'd like to learn more, obviously.
okay, come on Wednesday afternoons and sit down with Emily and have a little chat. Okay, calling for the question, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed? And one abstention. So, thank you.
Does Councillor Boone know that an abstention is a no?
Is a no.
Oh,
You can abstain. Okay.
It's fine. We don't record them anyway.
good to know.
We just do pass and fail, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, just so that you guys know that too, I'm sure you know from looking at council meetings, but we only record whether motion is carried. if somebody wants to ask for a roll call vote, we will record it, so you have the right to ask. Otherwise, the minutes will just say carried, and it doesn't note if it was 6-1 or 4-3.
Got it. Good to know.
Yes.
Okay,
Just-
yes, Counselor,
Just-
the last one,
Last one.
yes.
Last but not least.
Well, the Riverport Electric Light Commission is everybody, I think, is familiar with the subtle different difficulties we've had with getting our contractual arrangements to work efficiently with them. We've been working on this for years. And we have a couple of other problems. So I thought it would be helpful. And I recognize that we're doing a lot of other work behind the scenes with how we structure the electric utilities in this part of
Right.
Rutherford County writ large. But I thought it would be useful to have the following motion: that council direct staff to review the arrangements in place between the town's electrical utility and the Riverport Electric Light Commission, and report to council on the current status of these contractual arrangements and recommendations going forward.
Okay, is there a seconder? Counselor Beatty. All right. Any discussion?
Just a couple thoughts. I think this is good timing. I think we understand that the Riverport Commission is going to be having their annual meeting in April, I believe, late April. So
April
I think
20th, I think.
April 20th, and that's going to be a very important meeting. And there's an expectation that certain things are going to occur in that meeting, and I think we're all very hopeful that will happen. So I think this is excellent timing, and we'll see as well. You know, through our partnership through area, we also have a lot of relationships with Riverport, and you know, this partnership has been important. But you know, I think this is a good motion that will help clarify on some contentious issues.
Okay.
I certainly would like to understand the whole arrangement a little better, so having the report clear in my head.
Yeah, and you will get some of that with your onboarding training, and we're hoping that we may have Ray able to free up some time to come and sit down. He puts things in language that some of us who are not utility wise. He
Yeah, if we could
really
get-
has a
If
way
Ray
of.
could have been in before this report, then you'd really be primed to get this report, because Ray doesn't have anything to do with Riverport. But as the area general manager, he's got a good way of discussing utility operations that would then help to understand the context of our cooperation with Riverport.
Is he doing some orientation for the two new counselors?
We're hoping, and then if anyone wants to join in, they can.
Yeah,
hoping.
sometime in March, if it can be worked out for
Yeah.
Ray to come down, and then you're obviously welcome to join. It's not just for the two new people.
I would think it should be organized for the whole council anyway, because
Well, if it comes down, anyone who wants to join
Yeah,
can.
I don't know, we'll schedule it that everyone can, like, I know we've got people away and, you know, it is what it is, but once we've worked out when it is, we'll let everybody know. It'll be based on you two first for availability.
Yeah. Good. Ready for the question?
Mhm.
All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay.
Good, thank you, Kelly.
The motion is carried. Thank you, Counselor Wilson, for those three timely and I think much needed motions to go forward. Anyway, we are now at Counselor Feeney. You have a motion.
I do, Mayor, if you recall, in our last council meeting, council supported the Communities in Bloom organization by supporting their license or their application for the season. It was a wildly successful first year in 2024, and you know, we talked about embracing the passions of the community, and the Communities in Bloom organization has really thrived. And they took the year off for obvious reasons last year, which I think was a wise idea, but it's going to happen again starting this summer. Councillor Carver's been a real supporter of that organization, and we know all of the major players are all well known to everybody around the table. But I do think there's there's a benefit to formalizing Councillor Carver's role as a liaison, so she can be an intermediary between council and the organization and kind of, you know, cut the red tape, as they say. So I would move that council formally appoint Councillor Carver as the liaison for the Community in Bloom organization for the summer.
Anybody want to second that? Counselor Wilson, thank you. All right, any discussion? No? Well, I'd just like to say that you've been a great advocate for Communities in Bloom, Councillor Carver, and I know right now you're sort of sharing the co-chair position there, so you know, that's an undertaking in itself, especially where it's the test year. So anyway, I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Congratulations, Councillor
Thank
Carver.
you so much. I can't tell you that it's fun to be appointed to a committee where there's so much jolliness around the table.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's my home band, and that is one of Canada's beautiful cities.
yeah,
Towns, yeah.
it is great. It is great. Okay, so that's the end, 8.4, which is
Something new, wasn't
8.
We hit 9.4.
Okay, all right, yes, I started
Yeah, I
8.4
think
and
that's it.
then we moved it to 9.4, sorry, thank you. Lunenburg County Accessibility Advisory Committee meetings of
Well,
October.
It says there are minutes there, but I couldn't access them. I have a sign here saying, sorry, you don't have access to them.
Oh,
And I wasn't at the meeting, so I have nothing to say.
I don't have access either.
Yeah, well, they came up for me.
I don't know why.
So that's the most amazing thing, because it came up for me, but of course I have really broad access. So I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But the fact that you as a brand new,
I know.
like notionally, the way the links are not working is that they say only people who already have access to this link will have access, which seems like no one.
Yeah.
Certainly Catherine shouldn't have been the one who
No.
already had access. I don't know.
Making me sign it again.
But I do have it up on my screen, but I mean, you know, I don't know why this would be the particular one to have the minutes of. We've had plenty of meetings.
Yeah, and me too. So do we want to defer this?
I mean, there's nothing to these.
Yeah, there's
You
not
could
that
just
big.
accept it.
No, you wanted to move that?
This one's from way back in October. I mean,
Yeah.
we've continued to meet.
Not quite sure why that is.
I'm not sure why this is the one we're getting either. We get these when they're approved, but I think we've met more than twice. I was thinking, could they only just approve these this last meeting? But I was also there and Penny wasn't there, so I'm the only one who can answer that question. What the last meeting?
We also showed on the Joint Services Board.
We never get theirs regularly.
Right.
Yeah. We've had some ups and downs. I'll talk to Kelly about, because like we had a little high water mark where area, Remo and MJSB were on our agendas.
Yeah,
And I think it was maybe one meeting. And then I feel like we've slipped back. So I'll talk to Kelly if I think it's probably just hounding these organizations.
But I mean, we do have those minutes from last night, right? We're always gonna be a meeting in arrears, but.
yeah,
Yeah, but because of the length of time, we weren't posting them on our council agendas, and then we started to this year.
Yeah,
But we seem to have missed a
Yeah,
couple, so
fair.
I don't know what happened.
I think like aspirationally, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
all right. So do you want to make a motion to accept those, Councillor Carver? The Lunenburg County accessibility?
I think the CAO was there, says that they're quite old minutes, I think we can pass.
Yeah, okay. Moved by Councillor Carver, is there a seconder?
Oh, was that a motion? Does that?
Oh,
You can just, you don't have to
Okay.
do all of the reports
okay.
together.
You want to do them all together? Okay, we have 9.2 and 9.3. 9.2 is the monthly report, December 20. I can't see the rest of that on my screen. Maybe I have it here. December 2025. And then we have the South Shore Open Doors Association monthly report, January 2026. And for, did these show up?
Yeah.
Okay, they're more a sheet, and you can print those off too, our new counselors, like sometimes we want it and. To print them off, I find them handier to look at if I have a copy in my hand, and they're very good and up to date.
Oh, and heartbreaking.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. So, and then. We have the, policy and strategy of the February 23rd, 2026, which was so long ago. It was just this week, okay, so,
So the
there was a
reason that those,
motion.
yeah, the reason the policy and strategy minutes from Monday were added was because there was a motion to give first reading to the repeal of the taxi bylaw.
Right.
Yeah,
And in order to move that along and schedule a hearing, we
could do
just
that.
didn't want to wait a whole meeting just to give first
Mhm.
reading.
yeah,
So that's why they were hastened over here. So
Mhm.
the reason I'm narrating this is because even if you had them in front of you, the minutes say the council repeal, that the committee recommended council repeal the bylaw. Technically, you need to give first reading to the bylaw to repeal the taxi bylaw. And the
Yeah.
entire bylaw consists of the words, this bylaw hereby repeals the taxi bylaw passed at such and such a date. But because we're not replacing it with anything, we're technically passing a repeals bylaw.
yeah,
So the recommendation from the committee would be that we give first reading to the bylaw to repeal the
Mhm.
taxi bylaw. And then set a public hearing for such a date as,
Happy to make that motion, Mayor.
okay, thank you, Council Feeney, anyone want a second by Councillor Carver, thank you, any discussion?
Just,
And we'll set the hearing dates for just before the council meeting, because.
Yeah, which is gonna have to be the March 26th meeting, because there's not 14 days to advertise before the March 10th meeting. So
Mhm.
you'll have to advise Denver County Wheels, but I mean, that's the
Yeah.
whole month, it's
Yeah, I
not
think we
terrible,
can-
so.
And this is just so that we're friendlier for taxis, it is the main
Well, I
reason
think
for
so.
it as well.
I'm not sure if Councillor McCarron and Boone are in the loop on, so Lunenburg County Wheels requested that we provide them with a taxi license as their operational model evolves. And I think it's been our conclusion that this is an antiquated bylaw that would be better off just abandoned. Anyway, you were on the call, you were on the call,
That's right, yeah.
you were here. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in an environment
right,
where
sorry.
the city of Halifax is not doing the stuff that we say we would be doing. And they just had a big debate and said, this seems like overreach, well then, what
Right.
are we doing?
Find some more things to rescind.
Yeah.
We off to the races.
Yeah, okay,
Ribbon.
so,
That's right.
we have a motion on the floor in second, so I'm gonna call for the question, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed nay, the motion is carried, and then I'll entertain, someone. Making a motion for 9.1, 9.2, and 9.3 that we.
Accept
Accept,
for information,
yes,
so moved.
thank you, Councillor Wilson, second. Councillor Boone, thank you. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed nay. The motion is carried. We are down to new business, and I think. Councillor Carver, you had,
Yeah, yes, I just wanted to flag the new fire service regulations, that were mentioned or also included in the correspondence and the letters from, the Minister of Emergency Management. And when she, and the details it in the fire services modernization Q&A document. There's a lot of information there, and if anybody wants to learn more about the implications of the new fire service regulations for the rural municipalities in particular, the towns are less affected than the rurals, who are very much affected, huge changes. And the modal CAO at their, I think it was their Tuesday meeting, I can try and get the date. So there's a section, a long section of the CAO doing a report on the implications for modal and the fire services in modal. It was really interesting if you want to look at it. and it may have implications for our relationships with the abutting, the nearby fire
Right,
services.
better in the municipality.
Yeah, yeah, so I'm just flagging.
And this is
flagging
current
that.
legislation that is before the House right now.
It happens so fast.
And I did hear the first reading, sorry, the second reading. This is gonna go through. It's gonna go through and it's gonna be a lot of big changes, some good, some not so good. But it may affect our volunteer fire departments greatly.
Absolutely.
That's what the big concern is.
Yeah.
It's if you can access it, people of the public, you know, and not so much our fire department, but we don't know. There's so many questions out there about fundraising and other activities that
And credentials and, yeah, and oversight.
Yes, and you know, training, you know, required training is going to be a little different, and
Yeah.
there are many things changing, and this is going through, and it's going through fast.
And alongside of that is the fire services of Association of Nova Scotia, who had done their
Yeah.
study, their governance study. I couldn't get over how quickly things happened. I mean, the study was there, but it seems like the government regulations happened without reference to the study. I couldn't quite figure it out.
Yet if you listen to the minister, there was lots of consultation, but we know how we got a day's notice
Yeah.
about the face-to-face consultation, and you know, you can't expect people to drop something on such short notice.
Yeah.
And they, of all people, know how busy our schedules are with meetings and whatnot. You know, attending it was impossible for me because I had another meeting at the same time.
And the
So,
people in the room, I attended the one in Liverpool, and I think there might have been 12 people there, and they only had 12 seats set. And they were there might have been a quarter of the room were firefighters. The rest were people like me. And our deputy CAO was there.
Yeah, I think we ended up, the one in Lunenburg, at least where you and I and Eric.
No, I
were
think
there.
that
I think Mahone Bay was quite overrepresented
Yeah.
because the three of us managed to go and there were so few
Yeah,
people
too,
there.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I think that there's gonna be a lot of fallout from that. So that was one topic that I have to put on the.
Just on that topic, okay, thank goodness that we've had such progress on formalization of the relationship with the department, documentation, contractual arrangements, governance, financial oversight. I mean, we're in a completely different place than we were 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And that really dovetails and aligns with the province's motivations. Coupled with the fact that I think those of us around the table, we're all very cognizant of the true cost of doing business in this space, where you know you need modern equipment and that's expensive, and then you need modern amenities from a health and safety perspective. You know, firefighters have the highest cancer rate in the province, highest cancer rate anywhere in North America, I'm sure, but certainly that is the case in Nova Scotia. And there's an expectation that these things are going to be, these services are going to be modernized. And I think from the town of Mahone Bay's perspective, like this should be an opportunity for our town. But to your point, and I agree wholeheartedly, this is going to be a heavy lift for Mobile,
Yeah.
because they've got 26 regional fire departments that are, you know, they're living there where we were 10 years ago or 12 years ago. So
And
I empathize, but
And the regulations are saying that
Mhm.
the supervision, the overplay is gonna be all municipal.
yeah,
Municipal.
yeah.
Yeah, so they lose their.
It's going to Department of Emergency Services.
To the point that Deputy Mayor made, I'm just wondering is it premature, since we've kind of been waiting on MODL to get in touch with us about a possible fire services agreement that they indicated they would like to have with the town? Is it premature for us to reach out, like maybe do a motion to reach out and actually tried to engage with MODL, like to request a discussion with the District of Lunenburg about fire service. It's just the two units, like, because the other units have a lot to say, but we have these adjacent territories that we serve. And a direct conversation with MODL, maybe now's the time to strike and have the conversation.
I think that's a wise, I think we're in a unique position to be able to maintain and improve and maybe expand coverage where it's, you know, where it's in the taxpayers' to the taxpayers' benefit, and from a service level, it can be enhanced. So, I mean, it's not very often that, you know, we're kind of uniquely positioned at this moment in time with modern facilities and modern equipment and a talented team at the fire department with, you know, a lot of trained people. And I think that's a good time to strike and to kind of formalize some of these loose ends that you've been working on. I mean, this isn't starting from scratch. Like, we've had these conversations before. But I mean, I think the theme here is that you need to take lemons and make lemonade, and, you know, there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers through this legislation. And I think net, like Mahone Bay, Lunenburg, Bridgewater, Truro, Liverpool, like the towns with this infrastructure and the long-standing era of governance they're going to be ahead of the game, and that's just the way it's
I
gonna
know
be.
that there is a very emotional component for small communities here, in a sense that losing fire departments potentially means losing independence. But I guess to put a spin that's historic, and Joe will remember from his dad's era here, but we've often tried to improve and increase and formalize the relationship between Mahone Bay and the surrounding communities that have our rural route. Mahone Bay, generally people feel a strong attachment, they shop here, they use this as their service center, but obviously they don't contribute, generally speaking, to the cost of running the town, except for the fire service. A possible opportunity to strengthen the town's relationships with the surrounding areas of MODL that, you know, see us as their service center, through a structured fire service agreement. Generally speaking, it's not just a loss of independence, it's an opportunity for some surrounding communities to strengthen their relationships with each other and thereby retain more of a sense of independence.
Right.
I mean, it may just be that we have a cottage that we use out in Indian Point, but, you know, I really don't feel like Indian Point and Martins River are a completely different world to Mahone Bay. We should all talk about the future of our fire services, and they can retain more independence by talking to us now than by not engaging in the conversation.
Exactly. So, Mayor, I'd like to make a notice of motion with the intent to, at our next council meeting, make a motion to, you know, craft a letter to our friends at Modal, seeking opportunities to collaborate with them on a mutual benefit based on the new regulations. And I'll work with the CAO and the team on the motion in the next 2 weeks.
Okay. Is there a second for that?
Just make it a notice.
Oh, yeah, well,
I'm sorry.
well, that was a note.
Just a notice of motion.
So,
Oh, right. We
so
don't do that.
so the second topic that I referred to earlier was about the provincial budget cuts. And I don't know where I'm gonna go with this, but there's gonna be implications for municipalities. I mean, because the cuts were so wide ranging and so devastatingly deep. So I don't know if we want to book some time, have somebody tell us more about the implications. I don't know. And I don't even have a notice of motion to prepare for it.
I do sit on the library board for the town, and we just passed the budget for the coming year, which the libraries have not received any increase in funding for 8 years, 9 years, you know, too long.
I think it was 2009 cited tonight.
It's something crazy. So, yeah, I mean, you know, we haven't cut hours, we haven't cut staff. Other libraries in the province they're facing those decisions, you know?
Yeah.
We can only be open 4 days a week, or you know. Ashley's very creative. We came up with a good budget. We were squeezing through, but it can't go on. And when we saw those other cuts, at least we weren't cut. You know? It's like, we got, as bad as it is, it could have been worse. They could have
cut. Yeah. It-
Well, it's a good thing you had that to say, because that is what we were just specifically told by the
Two
province. on
hundred and
tonight's call.
63 right here in this pack.
When probably a half dozen mayors raised this concern,
Yeah.
we were told, well, you're lucky, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, yeah.
Are there also ramifications for the museum? The Mount Bay Museum?
Yes, Ken's is the treasurer, and they have been cut back 20%. So they get $25,000 from the province, and they've been cut back, and then there are lots of grants that they might have tapped into as well that
Well,
they depend on,
I
so.
hear they're shuttering a number of museums, so we're kind of lucky,
Yeah.
at least.
They-
The message is, it
don't
could have been
know.
worse, it's still
They
not
don't
great.
know.
Well, it cuts small communities.
Yeah.
All across the board.
Mhm.
So, I don't know what to do with that topic, but.
Well, arts programs?
I don't know, maybe we can refer it to mayors, wardens and deputies. And we can
well-
get a letter back, some feedback.
Mayors and CAOs were on a meeting with the deputy minister just before this meeting.
It
And
went till
it-
6:42.
it's sort of like a done, it's like,
It's a done
it's a done deal.
Yeah.
You
it's-
know, it's sad. We had the premier pop into a meeting that Councillor Feeney and I and the CAO were at last night. And it's gonna be what it's gonna be, and unfortunately, and we're paying for all the spending, you take away the tolls, you take away the parking fees, you take away all these sources of revenue. And, the secondary education, it's scary. Scholarships gone, bursaries gone, it's sad, and more. Also, there's more governance of the secondary education facilities are going to be appointments from the premier. So, their independence is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So,
So since
where we
may
need
not
trade.
come back to this at another time, I
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah.
Just a quick accounting, if you don't
Yeah.
mind, of the programs that were cut. So the town, if we did a postmortem in the 10 years prior to the elimination of these various funding streams, we probably benefited more than any other municipality, except maybe Annapolis Royal per capita, which is not too surprising because we are the third smallest or fourth. I guess we're still the fourth smallest. So, but PCAP, like we've recently substantially benefited from PCAP for the stormwater upgrades to the Fairmont Pine Grove neighborhood. We actually got the 1 year of the grid funding, the growth infrastructure funding. It was announced as a multi-year program beginning last year. It's gone now. But the 1 year of it funded more than $1 million of Edgewater. We were able to squeeze that in thanks to our MLA's support, because essentially it was the difference of inflation from the previous grant program through the 2 years to construction. So they gave us another grant that effectively covered the difference. We got that in the 1 year that it was available. Generally speaking, these are programs like they cut beautification and streetscaping last year. We got that program 7 out of 8 years that it ran, I think, to the maximum contribution. Like generally speaking, the town has done very well by these programs, which means that their loss will definitively be felt, but also that we did do a good job of disproportionately benefiting while they were around. The big message tonight, it was funny, is a call for mayors, is the CEO from Lunenburg's the first person to jump on, and he's like, so you're cutting these funding programs, what's the new funding program? And it's not really, the answer was not good, right? The answer is if it's a federal program, then maybe the province will help you leverage the federal money. Don't expect the provincial government to be taking the lead. So, with that in mind, we just were unsuccessful in receiving direct stream Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund funding for the Main Street West project. There is now a provincially administered version of that program that we've been encouraged by both levels to apply to for that project. Those major projects where federal contribution would be expected, like we're already navigating our way through, and there will still be those funding streams. But we've also been shifting to direct federal funding more and more, and leveraging provincial funding through that is becoming the official methodology. So luckily, much like the fire services, we've been anticipating these changes, and there will definitely be a consequence in terms of some of our capital priorities. But I think I wanted to kind of say it's a little bit of a mixed bag as far as that goes, because we have done very well by these programs, but we've always also done well to pivot to where the programs are. And, you know, our MLA has been supportive, and whatever there is to pick up the pieces, I'm sure we will see it in our budget in about a month's time.
No.
Mayor,
Yes.
I have one more.
Yes.
thing, which is about the countywide housing study that has been done and is certainly been presented to modal council, and members of regional councils were invited to attend a section where Turner Drake did their report. And it's worth looking at that meeting, that was Tuesday morning's meeting, to see the video of that presentation.
Yes.
There was a lot of information in there.
Is there a video? Because I saw the report and I really want to take some time and digest it. It looks very rich.
Well, this is the video helped understand that. I mean, it was such a huge amount of material.
Yes.
I got more out of the video.
It was a good presentation.
Yeah.
Where would I access that link?
The modal council video
Yeah.
library.
And it was like an hour and 15 minutes into the
Yeah.
meeting
Okay,
is when we all hopped on.
yeah, okay.
And then it was about an hour, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very, very worth hearing.
Yeah. Well, that's-
And I asked.
No surprises though. Like,
No.
if you're up on housing, like, I thought,
But
so I,
the stats were so outdated.
yeah.
I mean, we really needed to
Yeah.
come up to the
Yeah,
reality.
proving what we know.
But I texted the CAO and I said, how much did we pay for this?
As I have often said, your worship,
Yeah,
I've lost track now of how many housing studies have been done since I've been on council,
right.
but it's in the tens of,
Mhm.
Really?
not a house has been built.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, not a house has been built with that money. Lots of houses have been built hopefully in those years.
But not as a result of any of those studies.
No, yeah.
But what the study does is inform funders, like what is the need and what is the especially market rent, you know, I mean, if you look at the old stats, market rent for a 1 bedroom in Mahone Bay was like $700. Well, good luck.
Mhm.
Good luck.
Well, even the rents that they listed in this study were out of whack.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's brand new information that was wrong.
So what are they, what are they projecting in the next 10 years, 20 years? In terms of the needs, like just from that, I haven't looked at the study.
I can't tell you, read the study.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I can't do it off the top.
Well, I mean, I think that the basic thing was they said there's essentially no new market rental housing coming on stream anywhere but Bridgewater. It's
Yeah.
all immediately accessed as soon as it becomes available. There's basically no vacancy in any
Yeah,
long running.
yes.
The only vacancies are new buildings and they fill up right away. And
Right,
there's no measurable amount of affordable rental housing on the market.
yeah,
I think those are the things that the mayor was kind of, well, we do know all of those things,
And
but they
the-
are validated in the numbers.
yeah.
And new builds are way financially out of reach of people who need affordable housing.
Right.
So it's affordable
And they
housing.
said the good news is high-end new builds are starting to show a leveling out in demand. It was like, okay, but that just means that people can afford them and moved out of housing, perhaps
Yeah.
leaving that housing. It's not terrible news, but if the good news is the really expensive high-end rentals are the only ones that are being constructed, that this is the best news. But
right.
Mhm.
that was essentially the only area, I think they said, where the market was starting to catch up. And they didn't have like targeting, but I do think a lot of our rental construction that is coming will not necessarily be on the affordable end.
No.
I do think that the renovations may be, that may be our best bet.
Yeah, the old nursing home.
Yeah.
Yeah, the message was clearly that affordable housing is gonna be, has to be coming from non-for-profit, non-market.
The not-for-profit sector, and the only way that can happen is get federal money, because you can't, with the cost of construction and labor, I mean, you can't do it
There's no, such-
without, CMHC favorable funding.
as I've been saying for years, there's no such thing as affordable housing, there's only subsidized housing.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Well, affordable is such a tricky slippery.
So do
It's
we have
become a real
any
challenge in our
questions?
CMHC reporting too, because of course, like Eric is reporting to say. Affordable units are there in Mahone Bay, and how many new ones have there been in the last year? Well, it's very difficult thing to be able to define a new affordable unit prior to it coming on the market. It's not affordable until it's affordable.
Well, yeah.
And then that's the answer with respect to the renovation is, well, we'll see what the cost of the renovation is.
Yeah.
Which, how can it be predicted? So the only way to have an affordable unit from jump is to have a contract with someone, to your point, Councillor Wilson, that makes it affordable by subsidizing it.
Yeah.
We would have to say to CMHC, there is a bill that a particular entity has chosen to subsidize for whatever reason. Now we can get credit and say these are technically affordable.
Well, and what's curious, I have resigned from the co-op board, but developers are more likely to get funding for their project if they have included a not-for-profit section in their development. So they're banging on their door, and we've had people from Talent asking us to partner with them on a development, because if they have not-for-profit, non-market housing as part of the development, they're gonna get better funding.
Any questions?
So apologies, anyone listening. I think I'm doing this right, and I think there are no questions.
Okay.
I don't see any questions.
Okay.
How many people are there?
I should be able to see that, shouldn't I?
Somehow.
7 watching.
A couple of McCarrans dialing in.
Well,
Maybe.
I
Okay.
tried to zoom in when you guys were up there.
Yeah.
We'll see if it works.
It did.
Yeah, I watched it.
Showing up nicely.
Oh, okay.
So, before we close, and I say thank you to everybody for tuning in, I'd like to remind people that the Engage Nova Scotia Quality of Life Survey is on. You can go to our Facebook page here at Town Hall. They have a little blurb on it. I have it on my Facebook page, but if any of you can share that, it's an important piece of work, and it's been used many times by the government as well as Engage Nova Scotia, which is sort of like a spin-off from, it came with the Ivany report. It was something that evolved out of the Ivany report. That was 2013, I believe. It's ongoing, and Danny Graham heads it, and a former leader of the Liberal Party, and a member of the House of the Nova Scotia Legislature. So please do that. It's up for a while, and it's really important. It's like about 300 questions, but do it over a period of time. You don't have to sit down and do it all at one time.
Do you know when the closing date is?
No, I think it's for a while. It's open for a little bit.
Cause I was looking at my card today,
Yes,
and it doesn't say on the card
Yeah.
what it is, so.
yeah.
Okay.
Very move that we move into closed session under MGA 22.2 subsection C, personnel matters.
Okay, is there a seconder? Council Wilson, thank you. Seconder, all those in favor signify aye. Aye, opposed nay. Thank you for tuning in, and we will go into closed session.